Hello and welcome to your lecture on asking good research questions. This lecture will be focused today on understanding how to formulate a good research question for a study, creating a research question, which you'll do with your assignment, defining qualitative, quantitative, and mixed method research approaches, and helping you to decide which methodology is most appropriate for the research question you're posing. So let's start first with what is a research question. A research question is a question that the study or research project aims to answer. This question often addresses an issue or problem which, through analysis and interpretation of data, is answered in the study's conclusion. In most studies, the research question is written so that it outlines various aspects of the study, including the population and variables to be studied and the problem the study addresses. As their name implies, research questions are often grounded on research. As a result, these questions are dynamic. This means that researchers can change or refine the research question as they review related literature and develop a framework for the study. While many research projects will focus on a single research question, larger studies often use more than one. So let's talk a little bit about how research questions are developed. Research question framing involves narrowing down a broad topic of interest into a specific area of study. This means moving from a topic into a working knowledge, so research of the topic to see what is already present within the research, creating working questions that are identified through problematization or gap spotting, meaning looking for areas that the literature has not always answered or problems that need to be solved, and finally moving to a final research question. Research questions bound the study, meaning that they limit the study's focus. Moreover, the research question has a domino effect on the rest of the study. These questions influence factors such as the research methodology, sample size, data collection, and data analysis. So at this point, you may be asking yourself, what constitutes a good research question? A research question forms the backbone of good research. It is narrowly focused and carefully defined, but is part of a broad-ranging complex problem. So research question aims to explore an existing uncertainty in an area of concern and points to a need for deliberate investigation. A good research question helps support a focused, arguable thesis and a construction of a logical argument. So good research questions, therefore, detail the problem statement. What is the problem that we're trying to solve? They describe and refine the issue under study. They add focus to the problem statement. They guide data collection and analysis, and they set the context of research. So what constitutes a good research question? The factors listed on this slide will be discussed in the next few slides. First of all, feasibility. Feasibility means that it is written within the ability of the investigator to carry out. It should be backed by an appropriate number of subjects and methodology, as well as time and funds to reach the conclusion. One needs to be realistic about the scope and scale of the project. In order to conduct research, you have to have access to the people, gadgets, documents, and statistics that you need to use. You should be able to relate the concepts of the research question to the observations, phenomena, indicators, or variables that you can access. You should be clear that the collection of data and the proceedings of a project can be completed within the limited time and resources available to the investigator. Note that research questions may become not as feasible as the study moves forward, meaning that sometimes contingency plans have to be developed to allow the study to continue. Research questions should be interesting. They should have a basis in currently available knowledge. You should be able to state what is known about the topic or what needs to be known about the topic. It should be able to be backed up with academic or intellectual debate, meaning it should try to solve a problem that's not well known. And it should be able to answer the infamous phrase, "So what?" Why are we measuring the things that we're trying to measure, and why is this important? Should be novel. It should fill a gap in the literature and should be simple and clear. Studies may aim at continuing or refuting already established findings, establish new facts, or find new aspects of the established facts. Should be ethical. Research questions, when phrased, should not pose undue harm or undue risk of harm to the participants. Research questions should also ask in a way to minimize risks and should follow ethical standards such as maintaining participant confidentiality, maintaining privacy, avoiding deception, and assuring the participants' right to withdraw from the research study. They should also be relevant. To be relevant, the question should be of academic and intellectual interest to the people in the field you have chosen to study. The question should preferably arise from the issues raised in the current situation, literature, and in practice. It should establish a clear purpose for the research in relation to the chosen field. For example, filling a gap in knowledge, analyzing academic assumptions or professional practice, monitoring a development in practice, comparing different approaches, or testing theories within a specific population are some of the relevant research questions that may be posed. Finally, research questions should be of quality. They should be manageable. It has a similar essence as feasibility, but mainly means that the following research can be managed by the researcher. It should be appropriate. Research questions should be appropriate logically and scientifically for the community and the institution. It should have potential value and publishability. The study can make significant health impact or clinical or community practices. Therefore, research should aim for significant impact to reduce costs. Furthermore, the proposed study should exist within a clinical, consumer, or policy-making context that is amenable to evidence-based change. Above all, a good research question must address a topic that has clear implications for resolving important dilemmas in health and healthcare decisions made by one or more stakeholder groups. And finally, a research question should be systematic. It should be able to help you structure the research with specified steps to be taken in a specified sequence in accordance with the rules of the literature of the method chosen. So that leads us to this next question. How do research questions relate to methods? Research questions define the method used to investigate the study and state how the question should be answered. When constructing a research question, you should be able to answer the following questions. Is it clear? With so much research available on any given topic, research questions must be as clear as possible in order to be effective in helping the writer direct their research. Is it focused? Research questions must be specific enough to be well covered in the available study. Is a research question complex? It should not be answerable with a simple yes or no by easily found facts. It should instead require both research and analysis on the part of the writer or researcher. It should be of interest and useful. Is it of interest to the researcher and possibly useful to others? Is it a new issue or problem that needs to be solved, or is it attempting to shed light on the previously researched topic? Is it researchable? Consider the available time, frame, and required resources. Is the methodology feasible? Is it measurable? Is the research question measurable, and will the process produce data that can be supported or contradicted? And finally, is the research question too broad or too narrow? With a too broad research question, you will be unable to answer it at the conclusion of the study. If it is too narrow, it may not fill a large enough gap within the literature and therefore may be clinically irrelevant. There are certain types of research questions that you may generate. These attempt to answer the questions via quantitative, qualitative, or mixed methods approaches. Quantitative questions can be divided into three different categories: descriptive, comparative, and relationship-based. Descriptive research questions aim to measure the amount of a response to a study's population to one or more variables or describe variables that the research will measure. These questions sometimes begin with what, how often, or how many. Comparative research questions aim to discover the differences between two or more groups for an outcome variable. These questions can be causal as well. For the instance, the researcher may compare a group where a certain variable is involved and another group where that variable is not present. These questions often are phrased with the difference between. Relationship research questions seek to explore and define trends and interactions between two or more variables. These questions often include both dependent and independent variables and use the words such as association or trends. There are also different types of qualitative questions. Qualitative questions deal with phenomena of interest that are to be described using text, photos, videos, or other methods of investigation. There are several different types of qualitative questions, which I'll relay. Contextual research questions seek to describe the nature of what already exists. For example, in the context of a certain setting, such as school, what are the students' lived experiences? There are also descriptive research questions. These attempt to describe a phenomenon. For example, a qualitative research study might focus on the COVID-19 pandemic and people's lived experiences to describe how their experiences were during the COVID-19 pandemic. Emancipatory research questions aim to produce knowledge that allows for engagement in social action, especially for the benefit of disadvantaged people. These questions might deal with issues such as health inequities or health disparities, and how people can understand the disparities or how disparities can be ameliorated through people's thoughts and ideas. Evaluative research questions assess the effectiveness of existing methods or paradigms. This may happen in looking at how things are currently conducted and doing an intervention and then observing the outcome of those interventions. The next category covered is explanatory research questions. These seek to expound on a phenomenon or examine reasons and associations between what exists. The final three categories are exploratory, generative, and ideological. Exploratory research questions investigate little-known areas of a particular topic in order to start developing theories about that topic. Generative research questions aim to provide new ideas, and ideological research questions are used in research that aims to advance specific ideologies of a position. We also finally have mixed methods. These questions are as above, but include both quantitative and qualitative factors of a question, and we'll get to these individually and how to formulate these in the next few slides. Again, quantitative questions, studies are generally measurable via numeric or statistical means. Again, they have questions that are answerable with more than yes or no, and they may look at a segment of the population to make inferences to the whole. An example of this is, what effect does a falls screening algorithm have upon assignment to an evidence-based falls prevention program in adults 65 age or older? If you look at this question, you see that it is precise. These typically include the population to be studied, in this case, adults age 65 or older, our dependent and independent variables. A falls screening algorithm is our independent, and our dependent is the assignment to an evidence-based falls prevention program. And the research designed to be used. So we're going to have two groups, and we're going to have a group, and we're going to look at how this algorithm affected group assignment. These questions are usually framed and finalized at the start of the study, meaning that the researcher knows what the research question is prior to entering the study. Quantitative research questions establish a link between the research question and the research design, and these questions generally don't use words such as is, are, do, or does, because these are yes or no questions. These also seek to answer particular social, familiar, educational experiences or process that occur in a particular context or location. And as before, they are categorized in descriptive, comparative, and relationship type questions. Qualitative questions, unlike their quantitative counterparts, they're usually adaptable during the course of the study, non-directional, meaning they don't indicate a direction or indicate effect or cause, and are flexible. These questions generally aim to discover, explain, or explore. Qualitative research questions then need to articulate what the researcher wants to know about the intentions or perspectives of those involved in social interactions. Good qualitative questions are open-ended in nature, integrate discovering something from respondents, use data collection techniques such as interview or observation. They may seek lived experiences, personal experience, meaning, and stories. They generally use questions like how, what, identify, describe, or meaning. Generally avoid words such as relate, impact, affect, cause, influence, or compare, and they may ask what happened over time to explore processes and how interactions are occurring. An example of this question is, how does the Scaffold mobile application change physical therapist students' clinical reasoning as elicited by a task-based interview? Finally, we have mixed methods questions. Mixed methods questions look to measure something of interest and also describe or explain why and how the phenomena happened. They typically require a set of both quantitative and qualitative research questions. Separate questions are appropriate when the mixed methods study focuses on the significance and differences in quantitative and qualitative methods, and not on the integrative component. Researchers also have the option to develop a single mixed methods research question. According to Takatori and Tedley, this suggests an integrative process or component between the study's quantitative and qualitative research methods. You can see this in a purpose statement that was formulated for the Journal of Acute Care. The purpose of this study was to describe how often vital signs are measured via chart review, which was the quantitative phase, describe attitudes, inclinations, and factors that may influence vital sign measurement by physical therapist practitioners, qualitative, and provide an explanation for the use or non-use of vital signs in an immediate post-orthopedic surgical population, which was a mixed method. As you can see, formulating your study's research question is a vital piece of understanding the research and also making sure that you choose the appropriate method. If you have further questions after watching this lecture, please send me an email.